Kevin Paul LePage was born on June 26, 1962, and had a 28-year-long NASCAR career that spanned from trucks all the way to the Cup Series. His best Cup Series finish was 5th place, driving the TV Guide 16 for Roush. He even had 2 Busch Series wins in the mid-90s, including a win at Bristol. But that's not the reason that you know who Kevin LePage is it? No, the reason that you know who Kevin LePage is because of the 2008 Aaron's 312 at Talladega. It was a completely innocuous afternoon at the superspeedway. The lead pack had just taken 47 laps to go when the big one struck, heading into turn 1. At least, that's how it looked at first. When the replay of the incident hit, the world saw exactly what happened.
I'm Kevin LePage, and welcome to Jackass.
Wow, right.
That's Kevin LePage's 61.
Kevin LePage was coming off the pit lane, going at least 100 miles an hour slower than the screaming pack of race cars behind him. Instead of staying below the yellow line, which is what anyone else in motorsports history would have done, LePage drifted up the track and attempted to merge into the pack. This caused an incident that redefined careless driving in NASCAR. This is the day that a new term was coined: LePaged. It didn't matter that Kevin LePage had 2 career Busch Series wins, or that he was a sure thing of go-or-go-home drivers during qualifying. From this day on, Kevin LePage was known for one thing, and one thing only. He was forever known for the day he LePaged the field at Talladega. Kevin is in a very similar vein to Juan Pablo Montoya, who is one of the greatest race car drivers of multiple disciplines to ever live. But most NASCAR fans today only know Montoya for when he hit the jet dryer in the 2012 Daytona 500. And that wasn't even his fault. These moments in NASCAR history proved one thing above all. No matter how successful you are, no matter how much natural talent you have behind the wheel, every single one of us on this earth is one small mistake away from having our entire lives redefined, and the memory of our mere existence forever tainted in the form of some unfortunate moment or meme. Okay, now that existential crisis is out of the way, let's get to the point of this video. In NASCAR Thunder 2004, you are required to take pit stops in every race if unlimited fuel and tires is turned off. This means that every season you have at least 36 opportunities to have a similar issue to Kevin LePage. In fact, Thunder 04 was years ahead of its time, because the AI lines at Talladega, of all places, are such that sometimes in turn 1, drivers coming off of pit road and drivers at full speed will sometimes collide and cause insane wrecks, nearly identical to Kevin's moment in 2008.
Dog.
This game was released in 2003, by the way. Wow, now that's spooky, isn't it? Well, how is this for spooky? What if Kevin LePage was onto something in the 2008 Aaron's 312? What if there is some sort of advantage to merging onto the racetrack as soon as possible after heading down pit road? Can you win a championship in NASCAR Thunder 2004 after LePaging in every race? I decided I couldn't do this challenge as anyone else besides Kevin LePage, and also decided to have the added challenge of starting last in every race. So I ran this challenge in season mode with 5% race length on legend difficulty. In the Daytona 500, nothing of interest transpired. I pit on lap 5 and there was no traffic coming on pit exit, so the merge was normal. I haven't seen a car get tight like this at Daytona outside of career mode, and it was enough for Kurt Busch to make the pass, and Kevin LePage did not win the Daytona 500. We did not have the points lead after the first race, so I headed into next race with a chip on my shoulder. That race was at North Carolina.
Otherwise known as the Rock.
This race was going fine until Joe Nemechek decided I did not deserve to have a clean race and hung on my right rear on lap 7. This, of course, was a 60 and resulted in the first logo rival of the playthrough. Don't worry, there will be more. I was already in the top 20 by lap 8 and pit on lap 10. The pit crew felt incredibly slow, but as you'll see, this was a decent stop for this playthrough. Now was the first opportunity I had to merge into traffic, but I bailed at the last second in an effort to get more parallel with the track. When I did merge, I was in front of Daytona 500 winner Kurt Busch, who actually got into the brakes and did not run into me. What a novel concept! The rest of the race would have been by the numbers had it not been for Dale Jarrett giving me absolutely no room in turn 1, which was another 60. This was the end of the highlights, as I would eventually finish 4th, with Anthony Wayne Stewart taking his first win of 2003. But this was enough to give Kevin LePage the points lead by 10. Las Vegas is a hard track in career mode season 1, but not nearly as tough in season mode. I flew up through the field before pitting on lap 7. The pit crew decided I was having way too easy of a time with this challenge and delivered me a 21-second stop. Because the merge of the rock was so weak sauce, I decided to just throw the car across the track. I hit the wall, but I did not hit any cars until the 25 of Joe Nemechek decided to not go around me and instead run directly into me. Anyone else on the racetrack could have hit me, but no, it was Joe Nemechek, and I now had a 100 rival in race 3 of 36. This is impressively done. This was also the first caution of the playthrough, as I was unable to keep the car straight after getting hit. This left me in a super awkward position of being a lap down and having no idea who all was on the lead lap. Fun fact! The second half of races in Nascar Thunder 2004 are always tougher than the first, with the AI cranking up the difficulty. I barely made up any positions in this half and ended up finishing 28th. This fantastic run left me 6th in points and over half a race back from the leader. Never a dull moment in this game. At race number 4 in Atlanta, things got off to a reasonably normal start until something happened at the end of the first lap. I can't believe I didn't get any damage from this checkup. Caution was out, but the camera crew didn't feel like showing us what caused multiple cars to flip in this incident because they were too busy showing Jeff Gordon barely sliding. But this left me in 15th, and the race had barely even started. But this wasn't a sign of anything to come, though, as the car did not drive great on the restart. I got to lead a lap before pitting on lap 8, and the pit crew did not want to keep me in that position. This meant I had 2 cars on my outside coming off the pit lane. This made merging onto the track difficult, and I thought the opportunity had been wasted. Thankfully, Matt Kenseth decided he felt like running directly into me instead of slowing down. So the first successful LEPAGING of the playthrough had finally been completed on race 4 of the year. This resulted in a 60 and a bit of a speed boost. How fun! From here, everything was pretty normal. I was flying through the field, looking like I had a shot at maybe 2nd, until the car decided it was done driving with 2 laps to go. I've never had a car just die by itself for no reason like this. It just gave up. You don't see that very often in arcade mode. Anyway, this was very troubling as I lost many spots after spinning and still had to complete 1 more lap. Not only this, but I also got to start in front of 80 rival Robbie Gordon. Wow! It doesn't get much better than this. I somehow managed to hang on to this out of turn 4, and I finished in 22nd. Trash. I was glad to finally have done an actual page, but it left me 11th in points heading into Darlington. Race 5 was going fine until it was time for the field to start pitting. I made the mistake of actually trying to race people when Elliott Sadler decided he did not care about the fact he had a car to his inside, and he completely murdered me for no reason. Fun fact, the AI will usually not do this to you, but at some tracks like New Hampshire and Darlington, obviously, the AI will do everything in its power to pit on the lap that they want to pit, and that means destroying anything in their way. That anything being you, of course. By the way, this is somehow my fault, as this resulted in a 30 with Sadler and a 30 with Rudd. Cool, thanks. I found myself in 31st, coming down pit road under caution. Pitting under yellow means that I cannot LePage the field, which is kinda garbage, to be honest. I had no speed on this restart and was around 15th, coming to 2 to go. It was at this point that the people who stayed out during the caution decided to run out of gas. I made a quick decision to get to the inside of everyone so I could avoid them stopping, but in this moment I forgot that when people run out of gas, they try to go to the pit lane. So I got run into yet again, and the caution was once more out. Everyone who was going to come down the pit lane suddenly didn't want to anymore, and they flung themselves back into the racing lane. This was a stroke of luck, as the fast cars got caught up in this parade, and it left me in the lead with 2 laps to go. I definitely did not deserve to win this race, but it is indeed what happened. And Kevin LePage took his first win of 2003 at Darlington. We may not have LePage the field in this race, but pit road shenanigans were still the story of the day, so I consider this race to be pretty successful. It also left me 5th in points, heading into Bristol. If you've seen any of my challenge videos before, you know the story of Bristol. Nothing matters until Ward Burton hits the pit lane. On lap 13, I was busy watching the mini-map to see if Ward was in the pits yet, and it hadn't occurred to me that Jeremy Mayfield had been taking a nice Sunday afternoon drive in front of me, slamming on the brakes going into turn 1 for no reason and murdering me. Can you believe this? I got LePaged in the LePaging challenge. Oh, how the turntables. This allowed me to pit under yellow for the 2nd time in the playthrough. There were now 3 cars on the lead lap: Elliott Sadler, Robbie Gordon, and Kevin LePage. I was being way more careful than usual because I thought this would be an easy win. And things were certainly falling into place when I slid around Elliott Sadler like nothing. Unfortunately, Robbie Gordon was not going to be denied in the Food City 500. Even though I was actually trying really hard, I could not catch the Singular Wireless 31. Kevin LePage finished 2nd. Hey, notice how I take all the credit when I win the races, but I say the driver's name when I don't so I can pass off the blame? That's pretty funny right there, isn't it? Next up is Texas, which is actually one of my favorite tracks in this game. I had all but driven to the lead in the first half of the race before pitting on lap 8. The pit crew did decent, but any gains I had made were gone after Jeff Burton had the audacity to leave his pit stall before me. This added a good 3 seconds to the stop and meant I did not have a good LePager. I still got a 60 with Waltrip despite it all, and I've had to put my head down for the rest of the race and make up for the time lost on pit road as well as the performance loss in the car. Having the damage actually does slow the car down slightly, and if I'm getting damaged like this after every pit stop, it's going to have a noticeable impact. But as the passes clicked away, so did the laps. I was all over the 8 car coming to the light. I tried goading Dale to the top into 1, but he didn't react in time, so all the advantage I could have had in turn 1 was wiped away. I almost got to his outside, but instead fell in line. I tried keeping Dale high into turn 3, and it almost worked perfectly. Dale was in the middle, and I got into him in the center, and that moved him up the track just enough to get to the inside off of turn 4. Side by side, coming to the line! Yeah, that's a win, bitch! Even MRN was impressed by that one.
That was an exciting last lap, wasn't it?
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was a fun, good win, but we gotta roll into Talladega. Ah, yes, Talladega. I took the opportunity to pay my respects at the site of the original LePage incident in qualifying, and I started the race from last, obviously. Unfortunately, even with a slow pit stop, there was still no opportunity to LePage in this race. I tried drafting with Craven to get the win, but it wasn't enough. This 5th place took us into Martinsville, where people continued running into me and blaming me for it. I paused the game here to reflect on just how fucked up my life has become, and was into the top 10 before lap 10. I followed the Daytona 500 winner on the pit lane on lap 13 and took service. The pit stop was pretty good, but I was still outside the top 10. Due to this track being so tight and the speeds being so slow, LePaging onto the track is just the actual pit exit line, so nothing interesting happened there. I was still hoping to at least find a reason to put this race into the video, so I pressed on going for the win. This track is just a mess in EA NASCAR games, dude. My god, I never thought I'd see the day I was performing slide jobs at Martinsville. I lost all of my friendship points with Casey on lap 22 and was just too far back to get the win, finishing in 3rd. But it was still enough to get the points lead by 78 over Arnhold. How come it's always him? We were too far ahead of the field at California to LePage anyone's satellite. The leader of this event was Jimmy Johnson of all people, but he was not driving like he was in 2003. In fact, he was driving like he is in 2024, and I easily passed him for the lead and did not look back. This was an easy, albeit boring, win. Nothing happened in Richmond, I didn't win. Next up was the All-Star race, I didn't run that. Harvick won, yuck. Next up is the Coke 600. I'm gonna be honest, between the severe depression, suicidal thoughts, and lack of sleep, I was on autopilot right here. I just did qualifying and I got the pole. I sat on the pause screen here for a while because I actually had to think for a second if I'd completely blanked out just now. So yeah, we just got our first pole of the season at Charlotte, I guess. Okay. I decided to just bring out a caution immediately to mitigate this problem, and in fact, since the field is now going to be strung out single file, this actually adds a little bit more of a challenge to this race, so that's neat. I was nearly into the top 15 when people began pitting. Things took an interesting turn when the caution came out just as we began lap 10. In a real throwback, Ashton Lewis absolutely destroyed Christian Fittipaldi for no reason. This is only another piece of evidence that Ashton Lewis's tendencies to commit terrorism completely transcend the Tony Raines playthrough. Somebody arrest this man already! Anyway, this of course meant that we would pit under yellow, which strips us of a chance to LePage the field. I will say, the AI have been causing significantly more chaos in this playthrough than me so far. I need to up my game, dude. Amazingly, we came off the pit lane in 32nd, and had a lot of work to do in not a lot of time. There's more good news as a debris caution came out on this restart. That just gives us even less time to make up spots. Thanks again, Ashton. Once the field finished pitting, I was only 9th. The best we could do in this race was 6th, with Ward Burton finishing 7th. Yay! Now it's time for Dover. Jimmy Johnson's on the pole. Well, that's realistic. I was doing pretty alright until lap 6 when the car spun out of turn 2. Thankfully, I had no damage and said fuck it and decided to pit here. I didn't think I could make it to the end, so I did pit on lap 12. That also gave me an opportunity to LePage the field. Even though we had a good stop, we still lost a spot to Marlin. Now was my time to shine. I pulled straight up the track and was annihilated by Ricky Craven, who immediately died on impact. Yikes. I was so stunned by this incident that I skipped the replay on accident. After this, there was a debris caution on lap 17, and we did not win this race. Jimmy Johnson, in fact, won this race. That's unusual. We still had an 83-point lead heading into the second third of 2003. Next up is Pocono. I discovered in this race that if you skip qualifying in season mode in NASCAR Thunder 2004, you do not start 21st like you do in all future EA NASCAR games. I won't lie. I did a lap of qualifying in every other race up to this point to ensure that I started last in every single race. It was just pure accident that I didn't do it in this one. As it turns out, all of that was a complete waste of time. Yay! Does that qualify as a fun fact? Probably not. It's not very fun thinking about all the wasted time. Really sums up my life. Anyway, it was a Hendrick front row, which is cursed, and we made it all the way into turn 1 before the field checked up, and I slightly tapped David Green, which caused the car to get slightly loose, which caused a caution. This meant that the field was now single file and twice as difficult to pass. Are we having fun yet? I decided to mix things up in this race and waited an extra lap to pit. With this short of a race length, the tire fall off is really going to hurt me by pitting this late, which should mean that there should be a bunch of cars to merge into after pitting. If I wasn't losing this race enough, the pit crew decided to be slow on top of everything. This turned out to actually be the difference between me LePaging the field and not LePaging the field. No one ran into me in this race, and I did not win this race. Jimmy Johnson, in fact, won this race. Wait, really? Wow, okay, pop off, Jimmy. Michigan was next, and I'm not kidding, I got another pole. This is pretty sad, to be honest. I am not okay. Keep me in your prayers if that is what you believe in. Anyway, so I let the field go by, and I did in fact LePage run in this race, but I did not win. My average starting stat is beginning to improve a ton from these polls. By the way, Kevin LePage only has one paint scheme in this game, in case you were wondering. Finally, it was time for Infineon.
Kevin LePage will attempt to build on his points lead in this race.
Jimmy Johnson was on the pole. Okay, what's going on with this game? Jimmy never does this well naturally. Dude is absolutely killing it. I started last, of course, and actually planned on doing everything in my power to make this a fair race. This didn't last long, and I avoided stupidity by driving off the track. I pit on lap 2, and there was no one to LePage. This race was easy, and I won. Woo, I guess. Next up was the return to Daytona. Jimmy Johnson was on. Okay, what's going on here? Dude's just killing it for no reason. Why? I took 4 tires in an effort to get run into. I didn't. Nothing happened here, and I finished 13th. Chicagoland happened. This was a 60. I did not spin out coming to the pit lane, and Mike Skinner avoided my attempt to LePage him. This sucks. I won Chicagoland. Mark Barton blocked me from LePaging in New Hampshire, and I did not win. I finally performed another successful LePage at the return to Pocono, and was rewarded with a win for my troubles. At this point, we had over a full race lead in points, so I wasn't really that concerned about that situation. I LePaged Craven for a second time at this track, and I did not win. Next up was Watkins Glen, and I was actually excited to see if I could get from last to first within 4 laps. As it turns out, I did not have the opportunity to find out, because I was on the pole at Watkins Glen. Fun fact! In true racing simulator fashion, NASCAR Thunder 2004 has license challenges at every track in the game. Now, there are 3 levels on every track, and there are also actual driver voiceovers in these challenges. These are just basic lap time trial challenges, of course, but if you complete the Legend difficulty challenge, you unlock the track's Thunder plate, which will automatically start you on the pole at the track in arcade mode. As it turns out, this also applies to season mode apparently, even though you start last without the Thunder plate instead of 21st like in arcade mode. This was very unfortunate, as it meant I had to pull over and give everyone free spots on lap 1. And this kind of ruined any chance I had at the win, and I died trying to pass Hermie Sadler on lap 2, which brought out the caution. Some people pit, and some people did not. Here's another quick fun fact. If the caution comes out in the 10% race in Watkins Glen NASCAR Thunder 2004, the AI do not need to pit. This also applies to 5%, which is what we were playing on. I don't know why I put 10% there. I mean, it's also true for 10%, but you know what? Just ignore everything I'm saying. So between the cars that had stayed on the track and the cars that pit on lap 1, there was no chance for me winning this race. Brett Godine dumping Ken Schrader in the bus stop didn't help the situation either. Yet again, I did not win Watkins Glen in a challenge video. Nothing short of curse. The pit crew was bad in Michigan, and Bill Elliott was blocking me.
Hello there!
But this didn't stop me from attempting a LePage. I shot across the track and just caught Jerry Nadeau. And a caution came out with the cutscene hitting so quickly I didn't even have a chance to skip the replay on accident. This is about where the good news ends because I was stuck a lap down from this. If you watch the footage back, the reason the caution comes out immediately is because someone blew up. But in the replay, it isn't really clear who blew up. You'd think it would be Nadeau, but no, he's alive after the caution. It's truly anyone's guess who blew up here. Just another gaming mystery. Anyway, I finished 20th a lap down, which sucks. This erased my full race points lead down to 11. Never a dull moment. Hey, speaking of which, Bristol! I was doing a terrible job making passes, and I died off of turn 4 on lap 10. This did allow me to pit, but it wasn't enough to make it to the end of the race. Ward Burton did not bring out a caution, so I pit on lap 15. I took 2 tires because I actually needed a good run for points, and came out in 14th. This was such a weak sauce LePage attempt that it was only a 30 with Johnny Benson. I fought tooth and nail for a 10th place finish. Gordon got the win. Yuck. Disgusting. Next up was the Southern 500. I went in qualifying before realizing how stupid I was and backed out. This race was cleaner than earlier in the season, and I was into the lead by lap 7. I went long on fuel to hopefully fall back to the field. The pit crew even screwed up. All of this still wasn't enough to let the field catch up enough, and I did not LePage anyone. This was the most boring race of the year. Kevin LePage won the Southern 500. In a similar vein, nothing happened in Richmond besides the Jackman falling on his face. I did not LePage anyone, and I did not win this race. Jimmy Johnson, in fact, won this race. Oh, hey, that hasn't happened for a while. Hey, how about a Jeff Green 9th place? How about that? New Hampshire was going very normally until lap 7. People began to pit in front of me, and this, of course, was a terrible thing. I hit the pit barrels and got flung up the track and into Dale Jarrett. Kenny Wallace wasn't having a very good time either. Hey, if you think about it, this is kind of like LePaging in the field, but just the other way around. This completely shuffled the running order and I restarted in 30th. I did not deserve to have a good finish in this race, but I was blessed with track position once everyone started running out of gas. In fact, I was 3rd coming to 4 laps to go, following Anthony Wayne Stewart and a sporty Ricky Craven. Craven had been shockingly relevant throughout this challenge, being a draft partner at Talladega and being the recipient of a LePage twice already. He was having a great run, but it was going to be a tall task to beat Tony Stewart. Craven was just like Rise Against, and he was giving it his all. And he had a shot at the lead off of turn 2 with 2 laps to go. I was on the outside and did everything in my power to go to Stewart up high. The AI in this game are such dickheads that they would rather block you than try to win the race. So I basically rode the Adam Petty line in turn 3, and Stewart followed me, leaving the bottom wide open for Craven to steal the spot. Stewart wasn't done and was trying everything he could to get back under the 32, so I just tried to glue myself to Stewart's port side and hold position. In fact, I was so distracted by this that I didn't notice Robbie Gordon stopped in the middle of the track. Thankfully, this didn't affect the finish, and Ricky Craven held on to win the Sylvania 300 in New Hampshire. Hell yeah, dude. Kenny Wallace finished 8th, by the way, after being upside down. This race left me 268 points ahead of 2nd in the standings. Now that's better than 11. Next up was the Dover night race, and let me tell you, I had absolutely no pace in this event. I wasn't even out of the 30s when people began to pit. And if you thought I was having a bad time, just wait until you see the pit crew. Hey, but the good news is I hit a successful LePage on Jack Sprague. Yay! This, of course, left me a lap down and really without a prayer in the event. I finished 20th, but let me tell you how much my eyes lit up when I saw that Casey Mears had finished 2nd. Annoyingly, he did not win, but he did finish ahead of Dale Jr. I have never seen Casey do this well on his own in this game. The caution happening when it did helped, of course, but most of the time, D-level drivers like him will just throw themselves to the outside and let everyone pass. I do think the AI is a bit different between season mode and career mode though. There are very minute differences, but they are differences nonetheless. Well, unfortunately, that is not what this video is for, so I'm going to leave that discussion for now and shift focus to the return to Talladega. This track is hollow ground for Kevin LePage, but I was too distracted by Casey almost winning the last race that I tried to get him the win in this one. If I had an extra lap, I would have done it too, by the way. Of course, there was no chance of a LePaging happening here, and the only way would have been to force it to happen, like in this bonus clip. Yeah, I'm not too torn up about this fact, since LePages happen naturally at Talladega anyway in this game. So, yeah, basically, that's how that race went. Yay, I guess. Kansas was the next race. I fucking hate this track. I LePaged wall trip and finished 32nd. Fuck this goddamn track. Nothing happened at Charlotte as a perfect gap opened up right as I merged. Robbie Gordon slightly hit me, so this might be the worst LePaging of the playthrough. It was only 30. I finished 8th in this race. Yeah. And now it's time to head to Martinsville again, which meant it was time for more slide jobs. I pit on lap 13 like earlier in the season, but something was different this time. The pit crew was awful. Well, that's not desperately different, but what was unusual was Bill Elliott bringing out the caution. You know, it's strange how it took years for me to finally see this caution glitch again, and now it seems like it's happening every challenge. It's funny how that works. Anyway, this was not a good restart for me, and people kept running into me and blaming me for it. More people began pitting, and soon enough, the caution was back out. Now here's a rare one. How about a double Martinsville pit road glitch? We must be in the ultra shiny double mega rare territory for this. Like, Seeing this once is rare, but twice in the same race, in a 25-lap event, this has to have happened like maybe one other time, like in the history of this game, like everyone playing it. I'm serious, dude. Anyway, fun times. And actually is fun times. Unironically, however, as this caution gave me a shot at winning the race, restarting in third. Wall trip was an easy pass, but the real challenge was still down the road. Kurt Busch, Daytona 500 winner and short track ace, was the leader coming down to the wire. Even though I was 1.3 back, coming to 3 laps to go, I wasn't gonna let that bring me down. I kept throwing the car into the corners, downshifting into second to get huge runs. I was taking a peek, coming to the white, and I tried to bait Kurt to the top going into turn 1, but he didn't take it. I still had a good run off of turn 2, but Kurt was refusing to let me by. I had to throw it all the way into the corner, and I made contact, losing a logo ally in the process. Was it really worth losing Kurt's friendship to win this race? I don't know. Kevin LePage looked pretty happy in the victory celebration. Yeah, I feel like that was about as clean of a win as I could have gotten in this situation. You know, considering it's Martinsville and considering he blocked me all the way to the wall on the backstretch. You know what, I'm going to take this win for what it's worth. Which is nothing, if you really think about it. None of this is real. None of this matters. We're all just dust on a floating rock in space. No one will even know any of this happened billions of years into the future. No one will even know we existed. All of the problems we've ever faced and all the problems of the future will not even have the tiniest significance in the ever-twirling thread of space and time. Sorry, that got a little real, didn't it? I might actually need therapy. Anyway, next up is Atlanta. It wasn't nearly as exciting as the first Atlanta race until Kenseth decided to stop in the middle of the corner, and I drifted a little bit. That caused a caution. I didn't even fall out of the top 10 after this and pitted under the caution. I still wanted a shot at getting a good LePage out of this race, so I pit on lap 10 after we went back green, of course. I came back onto the track and threw myself in front of Arnhold. His daddy's life flashed before his eyes, but somehow, some way, he managed to matrix dodge the rear end of the CLR Racing 57 and did not get in a wreck. Mark Martin, on the other hand, was not nearly as fortunate, and a cataclysm hit turn 1 at Atlanta. I did not watch the caution replay, and I pit once again. Casey Mears finished 21st, and Kevin LePage finished 22nd. It was a Hendrick 1-2, and I considered doing this race over again. Unfortunately, I had not saved before doing this race, so we headed into Phoenix. Hey, you know that thing I always do at this track where I hit people as they begin the pit cycle really early? Hey, guess what? That happened again. That is a 60 with Johnny Benson and another trip down pit lane under yellow. I did not win this race. Hey, look at Casey finishing 7th. What a legend. Rockingham had another Hendrick front row, which sucked. I somehow did not LePage anyone off pit road, coming up in front of Kurt Busch again, just like I did at the start of the season. Man, 34 races later and the exact same thing happened again. Exciting video game! I did not win this race. Gordon won this race. I wish I was dead. Well, here we are again at Homestead, and here we are a full race ahead of second in points. Another job well done in NASCAR Thunder 2004. In the final race of the season, I decided to try something wild and crazy. I was actually going to try and follow the AI on the access road to the pit lane. Insane, I know. Well, take a wild guess what happened. Yeah, imagine that. Crazy. Who could have seen it coming? I don't know why Homestead always ends in death in this game. Hey, I guess you could call that LePage, but the other way around. I'm so tired of being alive. Kevin LePage took his destroyed car into victory lane and was officially crowned the 2003 NASCAR Not Winston Cup Series champion. This was a weird challenge. To be honest, I am not entirely sure if I can say I succeeded because I in fact did not LePage the field in every single race despite trying. There were many times where the field just was not in the way, so I was unable to cause LePage, but hey, we got the trophy in the end, and I guess that's really all that matters, right? I finished this challenge with 3 poles, 8 wins, 19 top 5s, and 27 top 10s, along with an average start of 39.5 and an average finish of 9.1. Jimmy Johnson finished 4th in points with 7 poles, and Casey was an 88 ally after all was said and done. Yep, I guess that's the end of this video. Sorry that this channel is like completely dead at this point. I'm like actively losing subscribers now. That's never happened before, even when I was like a fledgling channel. It's kind of sad. But as you can probably tell, I'm still manically depressed and still have no idea why I even wake up every day. The fact that I even stream is kind of crazy. The fact that I'm even recording this right now and not just wallowing is a bit on the insane side. You know, I hope everyone out there has a reason or two to live, and you're all finding as many ways as possible to prosper every single day. Please do it for me. Guys, please do it for me. This challenge was suggested by AJ Fails, who created a modding kit for this game on PC. You should definitely download that. You should definitely join his Discord server, subscribe to his channel and whatnot. Thank you to the mega appreciators TJ Arnhold, Adam Pehl, Raphael, Leduc, JadyLan, and VaporLyfe. Mega appreciators saw this video early. Be sure to click the join button underneath this video and check out the membership tiers as well as the additional perks for your membership. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, don't forget to press the like button, give me engagement. In the comment section, comment your favorite LePage moment. It can be from this video or Kevin LePage's actual career. I don't care. I hope everyone out there has many reasons to live, and I hope you all prosper. Thank you all so much for watching this video on the Cuz Games channel, and I'm done. Here's some bloopers, I guess. This challenge was success. That's worth a nice cat skid sear loader. Yeah, that's a reference. I drink a fucking Pepsi Zero Sugar and eat half of my goddamn fridge, and suddenly I'm burping every 5 minutes. Crazy how that works. Las Vegas is a hard track and okay, I guess we're not just gonna read this shit. Trash! Trash. 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 I was nowhere in delicious water.
We are under caution after an accident here on the front stretch.